TMS.
Hello and good afternoon to you, or morning, or unless it's the evening. I am here and I'm going to be talking about the 5 mistakes that people make when fishing for crappie. By watching this video, you're going to learn how to avoid making these mistakes, and it's going to help you catch more fish. This is all stuff I've learned over fishing for a long period of time, and it's helped me catch a lot of fish. So I'm just trying to share my experiences so that you can have luck, you know, in the early stages, or just trying to, you know, get better as you go. Alright, so for number 5, the number 5 mistake that people make is not using the right rod and reel and line. Why is this important? Well, crappie have what they call paper mouths that make it difficult to keep a hook in. And if you're using heavy tackle, it's going to be hard to land those fish. They also fight pretty good for their size, so if you have a heavy powered rod, it's not going to let it fight. It's going to be able to shake that hook. So what I recommend using, and what I use in these scenarios, is I use a ultralight rod. I have a St. Croix here, ultralight rod, and then I use a Shimano 1000 series reel. This is a Shimano static. And then, as you can see here, with it being an ultralight, it's got that bendy tip. You know, so it's gonna be able to take that fight to another level. You know, he can fight all he wants. He's not gonna stand a chance against me out there. You know, so that's the type of tackle I use. I highly recommend it. I actually first started crappie fishing with a medium light bass rod, and I did catch some, but I lost a lot in the process. I kept wondering what the heck is going on. But then as soon as I got my first ultralight, I was like pulling them all in the boat. I was so surprised. So for line usage, I know a lot of people use monofilament. You probably want to go anywhere from 2 pound to 4 pound to 6 pound. Probably wouldn't go much higher than that unless you're fishing extremely heavy vegetation or cover. But what I particularly use is I actually use braid. So right here, as you can see, I got 10-pound braid on there with a 4-pound monofilament leader. I tie that with a uni knot. I don't know why a lot of people don't really do that. I just prefer to. I feel like I can fight the fish a little bit better. I can feel the bites a little bit better. It's just my preference. But as long as you stick within those parameters, you're going to be okay. So for number 4, the 4th mistake is a lot of people go and fish these and they're not using the right technique. So when you bass fish, you want something to just float across their face as fast as possible. You know, they want to chase it down and eat it. That's not always the case for crappie. With crappie, they like their baits above their head. And a lot of your bites, you're going to get them while it's on the fall. So some of the major techniques are just casting and retrieving, and then slip bobbers, drop shots, vertical jigging. Those are the ways you're going to catch crappie. You know, you're not going to catch them on top water too much. It just doesn't really happen. You can use crankbaits, casting them, trolling them, stuff like that. You can use little tiny jigs and vertical jig them, or have it under a slip bobber. If you go out there and you're just throwing whatever around, you know, trying to reel it in, trying to catch a bite, you know, you gotta learn how to catch them first, and your technique is a major player in that. So the number 3 tip, also extremely important, and that is make sure you're using the right bait. Now there's all different conditions, all different structure, all different types of stuff. You want to make sure you're using the right bait. There are times where crappie will bite anything and anything and anything and anything and anything and anything at all, but there are also times where they're picky. These times are going to mainly be in the hot of the day, you know, in the summer, you know, maybe the middle of the day in the summer, yeah, pretty much, you know, or winter. You know, you can pretty much catch them on anything in the spring and the fall, but you know, if it's overcast, it's windy, and it's raining, there's a certain style lure they're gonna want that day. You know, whether it be a tube jig, whether it be a shad imitation, you know, a crankbait, you know, anything like that. You have to you have to be willing to switch your lure constantly to find out what they want. Now you can't just sit there and cast the same exact lure just because it's a pain in the butt to tie another one on, because they might not just be eating that. You might eventually get bit, but you know, if you switch, you're gonna have a lot better time. You know, you want to throw lures around, you know, like these tube jigs. These tube jigs work great. You see those little tubes on the back? I preferably love this color, the black with the blue, the two-tone with those little tubes on the back. Yeah, those work amazing. But either way, more importantly, you want to use the right style bait. You want to constantly go and switch your baits, you know, maybe give about 10-15 minutes in an area where you know you've caught crappie before, or if you're at a new lake, you know, you might want to fish a few different spots for a few minutes, maybe switch your baits up while you're in that spot. But you have to constantly put the work in to catch those fish. All right, for my number 2 tip of the day, and that is picking the right location. So it depends on the time of the year, depends on the conditions, it depends on the water temperature, it depends on a lot of things, but finding the right location is important. Depending on where you live, I would highly suggest doing a little research in your area of where those crappie will be that time of the year. So in the spring here in Michigan, they're up shallow. In the summer, they are second level to deep water. In the fall, they are in shallow, middle, and deep water, all depending on the time of the day. And then in the winter, obviously under the ice, they're in extremely deep water. Now a lot of times they're on structure too. They're on fallen trees. They're on brush piles underwater. They're all over the place on cover. Now I'd hate for you to be out in the middle of summer fishing in 5 foot of water where there's no cover and it's all sand and wondering why you're not catching any crappie. That's why it's so important to look into the lake that you're going to. See, you know, use apps like FishBrain, you know, all those other fishing apps that show where people have caught those fish, and then it gives you GPS locations of where they're at. That's important. If you go on FishBrain and you've seen someone catch a fish, you know, and it's got their spot pinned on the map, you can go right to that spot, and if you fish that area, you know people have caught crappie there. It even tells you the dates in which they caught them, the water temperatures. It gives you all this intel, you know, that you can use to your advantage. I highly recommend using those contour lines to show the depths if you don't have a fish finder. And even if you do have a fish finder, it's great because you can kind of know where you want to go right from the start, so you're not wasting time just going all around trying to find your location. And I hate to say this, but aside from the bank, you're really not going to catch them from the bank, I should say, unless it's the spring, or if you have deep water access, like a pier that goes into really deep water, you know, stuff like that. So if you're from the bank, I highly suggest really digging deep and finding those locations. And so for my number 1 tip, this is the best tip, the greatest tip, the best tip you'll ever have, and that is, drumroll please, to fish slowly. So this may sound simple and stupid, because it is, but you will not believe how many people mess this simple trick up. It is insane. So all you have to do is you imagine casting your lure out and reeling as slow as possible. You know, you're looking and you're reeling it so slow. Now do that. Now reel as slow as possible, but do that and reel even slower. I'm not even kidding. Slow it down to as slow as you can possibly go. Let it bump the bottom at times. Pick it back up. Let it fall. Almost vertical jig it, but try to keep it in that water column where the fish are. And that's usually right above brush, sometimes in brush. But you want that bait to sit right in front of their face as long as possible till they decide to bite it. Sometimes they're aggressive and they'll bite it right off the bat, but if you go too fast, you have no chance of catching those fish. Well, I do want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch my video today. I hope you learned something. I keep posting content like this every week. I'm always trying to help people out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. You know, if you like this, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe. I'm going to keep dropping stuff every single week. You know, and again, thank you so much. I hope you have yourself a great day. See ya.